we shall see who will be on the highest step of the podium later on this afternoon.
C'est vrai que c'est Atlanta a célébré la première médaille d'or de la Grande-Bretagne qui restait donc invaincue encore une fois. Une Paralympiade reste une Paralympiade, une compétition reste une compétition et rien n'est joué. Allez, que le meilleur gagne et faites-vous plaisir en tous les cas, partagez l'émotion qu'ils sont en train de vivre pour vous, les enfants.
Welcome back to the Chateau de Versailles in the background. It is now Grade 2 riders' time to shine. 7 riders. Great Britain, Canada, Germany, Australia, Denmark, the USA and Austria sending out their next riders. Starting off, it will be Team GB's second rider, Georgia Wilson, the world number 5, riding on Sakura. So Grade 1 just gone before. Grade 2 have either an impairment of the trunk and minimal impairment of the arms, or moderate of the trunk, arms and legs, and most athletes in this grade using a wheelchair in daily life. Grading from 1 to 5 depending on impairments. This team event, mixed graded teams, at least one from grade 1 to 3. And now that means we're getting towards the crunch time. Grade 3 riders with the honour and pressure of going last. But 7 grade 2 riders involved as they look to leave their mark on this team competition. Day 7 of the Paralympic Games, the third of 4 for para dressage. 28-year-old Georgia Wilson won double bronze on her debut in Tokyo. And after grabbing a further bronze in the individual event, she'll be looking to score high to keep any dream alive of a GB medal. It is certainly going to be a tough ask for them to continue their golden dominance, having won every team event since the Paralympic Games took para dressage in for Atlanta 96.
The strong start there for Georgia. Here in the working trot, showing lots of activity.
As a reminder, 5 judges in the pavilions around the arena. They will score from the view that they have, the angle. And those 5 scores will be aggregated to give us our percentage. And then that will be added between the 3 riders per team to give us our final standings.
The Holt immobility 5 seconds worth of double coefficient in this grade 2 test. And here the rider turns down the quarter line and then leg yields, moves the horse away from the inside leg, so the left leg here. And riders who have limited power in their legs would be using the stick as an aid to assist, or some would use a little wiggle in their body to give the horse the cue to move sideways. Every rider has their own particular method of communication with the horse. Judges looking for the accuracy of the transitions at the markers.
Sophie Wells having gone first for GB, 70.895%. And had a chance meeting in the mixed zone with the Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh. So there is royalty who feels safe on the grounds of the Chateau de Versailles. Georgia Wilson, knowing she needs to really score high to give Great Britain any chance of a medal, given the incredibly high standards we've seen from a number of nations.
Coming on to that diagonal to show the length and strides in trot. And the 3-loop serpentine, looking for the evenness of the bends, the equal size loops, the regularity of the pace on the change of bend over the centre line. Again, looking a lovely harmonious picture. Georgia leaning forward just to give with the rein to allow Segura to stretch and lengthen the stride, lengthen the neck and the frame.
For Sophie Wilson, it was very late arrival in Tokyo, a replacement for Sophie Christensen. Georgia Wilson then taking those 2 bronze and another one here. Took her opportunity when it came. And she'll hope to have made the most of her opportunity as the second out for Great Britain. Her reaction suggests she's pretty happy with how that went. And soaking up the atmosphere here at the Chateau de Versailles. Team GB leading the silent applause.
Just a little stumble there, but Georgia really quick again to pick the mare back up into stride. It's always important just to let that moment go, only think forwards. And Higgsy, she has the loops on the reins to give, but that's just one adaptation to the tack that riders do have the option of when you don't have the dexterity in your fingers.
So a patient wait for the judges' scores. But all smiles and thumbs up for Georgia Wilson and Sakura. There she goes. Maybe she'll be the next to bump into Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh. So look out across the stunning scenery with Paradressage taking central stage. So Great Britain, Georgia Wilson adding 73.3144.195 overall, down in 8th. Of course, we won't really get a full picture till the third riders will start competing. Roberta Sheffield of Canada with Feyruza, the world number 7. So Jody Schloss and Austin Burns producing a combined score of 137.542. That leaves them 12th of 16 as things stand. What can grade 2 rider Roberta Sheffield add to the score? Norway and Finland still first and second as the Roberta Sheffield finished 6th in the grade 2 event, so we'll get the chance to showcase her and Feyruza's musical tastes and style, along with the top 8 in each of our 5 grades. But it's team medals and position they're fighting for right now.
Roberta using every moment available, came into the field of play early while waiting for the scores to come up. A rider can do that. As soon as one rider comes out, you can come in. And they're just waiting those 60 seconds then, taking her time to enter a day. There is those ears flickering back out to the side, listening into every line of communication from her rider.
Well, much like her teammate Austin Burns, dual citizenship between Canada and Britain, and originally did represent Great Britain in para-equestrian, but switched to Canada in 2013, and a year later she almost medalled in France, 2014 Caen World Championships. And this, her 3rd Paralympic journey after Rio and Tokyo.
Super square halt there. And that little black line, just a little giveaway of the marker A, and the body, her body, the rider's body, straight on that line.
You see that from the score, 8.3 compared to Wilson's 7.3, and that does give you an indication. Wilson went out first. The best grade 2 score will be at the top compared against the current rider, and that is Sheffield.
The marks are there for the taking. Accuracy is key.
Well, a Brit-born Canadian called Sheffield, looking for a steely performance.
Again, this walk volte, 8 meters. Having to judge the placement of that circle. No other markers to guide you. The looking to turn down the 3/4 line, the quarter line, so 5 meters in from the track, and then into the leg yield, so the horse moving sideways from the inside leg or stick or whichever aid the rider has chosen to use. Could be just from the seat bone. And here on the diagonal, just looking for some lengthened steps, 5 to 7 lengthened steps. So direct transitions are not required, doesn't have to be at the markers. Looking for that straightness as you come across the centre line before changing the bends. Coming onto this half circle, looking to give the horse the rein so that they can stretch, show the longer rein. Again, looking to keep the maintenance of the rhythm and the activity and the relaxation and regularity of the walk, that clear 4-beat walk.
Well, Roberta Sheffield, 43 years old, and since 2019 has been providing an online mentoring venture, Hart Horse Dressage. And it's certainly important for those who discover the sport and want to be involved to have access to mentors who can guide them. There's be so many things you have to take into consideration. We cuddle in a rub for a fine performance from Feyruza and Roberta Sheffield. Austin Burns looking on as Canada wait for what will be their final score, with all 3 riders having completed their task. So Roberta Sheffield 70.967, it's 208.509 for Canada, currently ranked first.
You talk about the mentoring skills. It's not only what you do on the horse, it is what you do off the horse as well. And riders will have learnt skills of visualization, so some will have come down to the arena and actually run through the test. They'll be looking at the arena and they'll be running through the test in their mind, because we can still learn those skills from the visualization. You'll be imagining your test going as perfectly as it can and how to rectify any mistakes that may happen in the test, any little errors, what you would do to put them right.
So confirmation, Canada into first place as the 3rd team to complete their trio, 208.509 overall score. So Canada replacing Norway as the leading light at this stage. Finland holding on to 3rd place, but given Heidemarie Dresing, 69-year-old on Dulup, representing Germany.
Indeed, as we head to the following combination.
So the Germans' final combination, and with 2 plus 75% scores from Neus and Misperkamp. Certainly a good chance of propelling Germany into provisional golden position. Scores of Canada, Norway and Finland unlikely to hold up under scrutiny. So there's certainly plenty of tension. There's an understanding of that, but anything can happen in sport. There'll certainly be confidence that Dresing can deliver.
And the horse and rider not being judged while they are working around the outside of the arena waiting for the bell, but they want to be showing their best to the judges. Even at that point, they'll be wanting to say, look at me, I'm here. Take note.
And certainly doing that as Dresing gets underway. Paralympic debut in Tokyo at the age of 66. Never too old to start with a life in the stables. European champion on home soil last year. Twice golden, both the individual event and freestyle, plus a team silver. Germany certainly in a position to try and target a medal on day 3 of 4 Para Dressage.
Being accurate at the markers. Not quite square there. Ideally would have picked that right 4 up and just squared that up for the top marks.
It's a really great shot though, because it's so clear for anyone to see what the judges are looking for.
That's it, that's it. And here looking for the crossing over of the front feet and the hind legs as the horse travels sideways to the marker at M. And that mark's actually worth a double coefficient, so double marks for that. And these tests showing mirror images
Not a smile. Plenty of love for her teammate Dulu Dresing for the final performance for Germany. She's done, and Germany's work is over. It will now be a nervous wait, but highly likely they're going to be up high in the standings at this stage.
Yeah, lovely flowing balance until that moment. I just speak at the wrong moment again there, didn't I?
Commentator's curse is a real and brutal thing.
But here you'll see on the saddle the bigger knee blocks again. That can give some extra stability to the rider. Some horses just find this in the footing of an arena that they may just not quite pick up their feet and just trip through there.
So Germany's final score, 223.751. Neues, Misbelkamp and Dresing at the moment, number one. Well, she was out previously to support her teammate, but now it is her time to represent Australia. The final rider for the Aussies, Bridget Murphy, the world number 17, Pen Main Promise. The silent wave in respect to the athletes and horses, but still able to show their love and appreciation.
Australia now, she is making her Paralympic debut here in Paris. I'm saying her debut, of course, she took part in the individual test that was on Tuesday.
So a Paralympic debut,
He's just 7 years of age.
although did earn her spot in the freestyle with a 7th place finish in the grade 2 individual event, 66.724. Can she push towards the 70 mark? There are always personal goals set to try and bring the best out of your competitive performance. So Australia's third rider of 3, Bridget Murphy, with Pen Main Promise to complete the Aussies' score.
And the grade 2s having the momentum of the trot to bring them into their square halts. Proceeding in the medium walk. Some of the horses would anticipate trot, but he's there listening. Looking for that rhythm in the trot. And the harmony and the presentation of the athlete and horse combination will be marked in the final collective mark at the end of the test. But you can clearly see this pair working well together.
Well, Bridget Murphy, 36-year-old, inspired to come over to para-equestrian by former Paralympian Sharon Jarvis, who competed in multiple games before bidding farewell after the Tokyo Paralympics. And Murphy certainly hasn't looked back, saying she's loved it ever since. And of course, that's the important thing. If you want to focus on yourself in terms of your performance, but also so important to safeguard the sport's future by bringing in new talent.
It has to be that way all the time. You have to keep inspiring the next generation, and also it keeps the older ones on their toes. Doesn't let you get complacent. Again, leg yield of 7. Good clear crossing of the legs in those sideways steps. And here in the trot, keeping the tempo and rhythm. Judges looking for the precise transitions at the markers. Those ears popping back now and then to check in. Say, I'm listening, Mum.
Well, it was 13th in Tokyo for the Australian team. They're currently sitting in 12th. And Bridget Murphy's performance could yet see them earn an improvement 3 years on.
Just a little misunderstanding there. Only thinking that was an aid to move up into the trot and rather than sideways. Again on the diagonal, looking for those 3 to 5 lengthened steps. And the fact that the pony just brought his head up as looking, that will just have a little effect on lowering the score of that. But just such a lovely overall picture. Again, harmony so important in these para tests. Just encouraging the horse to lengthen the frame. Don't need to give the full free walk on a long rein, but just lengthening slightly. A little bit of anticipation coming in there in the walk. You just see the steps quickening. Lengthened strides, the mirror image from the other rein. Setting up the corner for this line coming into halt.
Well, inspired by Sharon Jarvis, replacing the now retired Paralympian in finishing Australia's team event. Was on the sidelines to support her teammates, and now took to the saddle to be rightly the centre of attention. Hugs and kisses the sidelines for Team Australia. A very happy looking Bridget Murphy as they wait for their final score.
Grade 2 riders who was competing in the fourth of our 7 grade 2 riders.
Showing how using the leg aid to just encourage the horse to step sideways. Again, the 4 beats of the walk. Plenty of support from her teammates.
De l'équipe australienne qui du coup avec 67,100 justement de la note.
Just the anticipation, misunderstanding there, but soon sorted.
A wave and a smile, and 67.1% added to the team score. 206.343 leaves Australia currently in bronze position.
Voici celle qui est en attente. Je vais vous parler de Tokyo. J'aurais pu vous parler aussi de l'échéance mondiale où elle était tout simplement médaillée d'or individuelle et du programme en musique aussi. On vivra demain son sacré cavalière.
So 4 riders have been, 3 more to come. Representing grade 2, Katrine Kristensen of Denmark, world number 21 on quarter.
À 16 ans maintenant qu'elle monte depuis 2 ans et demi. C'est Katrine Kristensen pour le Danemark.
Indeed, as we head to Denmark, who's competing now.
Well, Denmark looking to make up for just missing out on the podium 3 years ago. As the United States took bronze, the Dutch the silver, and Great Britain as ever the gold medalist. But looks like the changing of the guards could be on today. Denmark now with just their second rider, Katrine Kristensen, and Gore Klintgård Quarter getting their team event performance underway.
This half 20-meter circle.
Well, she came to these games the double world champion in the individual event and individual freestyle, with a silver medal to boot in the team event. That was a couple of years ago on home soil.
Super harmony being shown between the two. And Katrine just being able to move on to a longer loop then, just creeping her fingers back through to pick the horse up into the medium walk.
Well, clearly her parents' idea for her to take up a sport after a diagnosis of muscular dystrophia paid off, she said. Kristensen, when she first sat on a horse, she forgot about it. And what greater gift can horses give?
They really do take us out of ourselves. They give us something else to think about and dream about.
Well, Kristensen, in the last few years, has been living a personal and competitive dream. She looks absolutely ecstatic as the Danish flags fly. Great silent applause from the crowd here in the grandstands. And Denmark, still just their second performance in this team event. Still a final one to come in grade 3, but Katrine Kristensen was quarter 145.2 is the team score after a fabulous 75.2.
Sign of concentration there on her face. Lots of activity here. Smooth, rhythmical. A moment of suspension there in the trot. All 4 legs off the ground.
À venir nous rejoindre des États-Unis d'Amérique, et puis il y aura l'Autriche, et après donc le dernier groupe dans lequel on compte aussi la dernière prestation française, et puis après donc évidemment la remise.
So Denmark up to 10th, but they've only got 2 of their 3 scores. So that could be big movement to come. 145.2 team total for now.
Pour la Grande-Bretagne, accueillir aussi l'un des jeunes talents, la Grande-Bretagne, les États-Unis d'Amérique, l'un des jeunes talents donc du haut de 25 ans pour Fiona, qui a été donc 3 fois.
Well, we saw the bronze medalists from the individual event. Georgia Wilson set the tone for grade 2's participants. We've just seen Katrine Kristensen, the silver medalist. Fiona Howard, the individual Paris 2024 gold medalist and world number 1 on diamond dunes for the United States of America.
Maintenant, eh bien, ça fait partie justement de ces talents du para-dressage. Elle est même la numéro 6 de cette discipline.
Well, there was 76.931, which was more than enough, with a pretty cushion for top of the podium. And certainly, Team USA have come to Paris and they've meant business. Top of the para-equestrian medal table. Fiona Howard with one of their 2 golds, with a silver to boot. And now looking to improve on their bronze medal from 3 years ago. And it's Howard who has joined the party. Rebecca Hart and Roxanne Trunnell returning, but it's Kate Shoemaker who's been replaced by this American Golden Girl, and looking to really put them in the hunt for a medal with diamond dunes.
Lovely square halt into this rhythmical walk. Again, a loose-limbed, elegant trot here. Judges looking for the regularity and the quality of the trot, the bend and balance, the engagement. And the test of coming back, the transition and the small circle, the 8-meter circle, immediately afterwards. I was just waiting and listening for the just looking for that straightness before heading into the leg yield.
It's already been a Paralympic debut to remember for the 25-year-old American, born in England to an American mother and British father. Didn't move to the US until 2016. Did originally compete in non-para reining, junior international level, for GB, and we're seeing some quite splendid scores, to say the least. And what is it that she does that makes the judges really sit up and take note?
It's the smoothness, it's the regularity, transitions, accuracy. It's everything combined, really. It's the overall picture.
Certainly proving to be an artist on the sands of the Chateau de Versailles. And interesting that she's replaced the woman who coaches her, Kate Shoemaker, in this American trio. The pupil certainly showing a mastery for para-equestrian.
Something we're seeing more and more in the sport is that the more established riders, they are coaching some of these younger riders that are coming through.
That wasn't the case before? Was it more?
Not so much. I just think that more riders are going into coaching, and it's a great way of passing on your skill base. But they'll also be coaching sort of non-physically impaired riders, so they'll be out there just passing on their knowledge with also all the skills they've got with the communication between horse and rider.
The knowledge aligned to the experience.
Mm-hmm.
We're just seeing some big 8s. 8.4 followed by 8.3. And we're, I think, getting another demonstration of exactly why Howard won gold ahead of world champion Kristensen. Because the Dane has been terrific and consistent, but we're just looking at a rider at her peak. Although at only 25, we can see what the future holds, but in the here and now, an absolutely brilliant ride for the gold medalist. I think the reaction of her team show exactly what they think.
Says it all.
There's even some shock. She entered the ring for the first time as a Paralympic champion, and Fiona Howard just does not look like she is fazed by the occasion, and even if she is, she's hiding it well.
But you can just see the quality here. It just looks so easy, so elegant.
Look at that, 80.0004. Fiona Howard, obviously the individual gold that was on Tuesday with Diamond Dunes and here United States of America after 2 riders with 157. With still
Horse
one
just
rider.
listening, waiting for the next aid.
Look what the performances can do to the emotions. A splendid, scintillating performance. Wow. Seems a fair description, and no wonder our first 80% score of Paris 2024, 157 for the USA. They may sit 6th for now, but wait till Rebecca Hart gets her teeth into the competition. Well, what a setup Fiona Howard has produced for the final leg of 3 for Team USA. You don't look too shocked that 80%er dropped for that performance.
No, it just spoke volumes, and she's been rightly rewarded by the judges.
Well, it was 76.931 for gold, and she just brought her A+ game. The final rider of our Grade 2 team event competitors. Certainly not one to be phased despite the brilliance that preceded him. Pepo Puch, the world number 3 on Sailor's Blue, representing Austria.
3 times at the Paralympic Games in the past, 2 gold medals individually, 3 silver individually, 1 bronze.
Well, Fiona Howard is now a gold medalist. This man took 2 in 2012 and 2016. Freestyle and individual championship respectively. Tokyo saw a silver. 13 years to the day he sustained his impairment. They say he's not one for nostalgia, and he'll certainly be focused on what he can do now rather than what has come before. So Austria, it's just their second performer, just as we saw with the USA before. So Pepo Puch will want to propel Austria from 16th place high up the virtual standings. Two golds, 3 silvers and 1 bronze over his previous 3 Paralympic Games. Big smile to start. Still getting a kick out of top class competition.
He is indeed, and he'll know exactly what's required of him in Sailor's Blue right now. And it won't faze him. He will have switched off the cheering and the score, and he'll just be concentrating on his job in the arena.
Well, we saw while Howard performed, she was being compared on the graphic to Kristensen. It's now Puch who's following that 80%er, but already showing a strong start.
Something to note with this combination is that Pepo does have quite a lot of movement in his body in the trot, but that it doesn't have any effect on Sailor's Blue. He's happy to carry on in his harmonious way. The change in balance is not affecting him. Again, looking for that clear 4-beat rhythm in the walk. Here the crossing looks good, just using the stick there to back up his leg. From this angle it looked very parallel, which is what ideally you need, the parallel as to that long side.
A reminder that the scores are an aggregate of the 5 judges, as we see those pavilions dotted around the
is in the grade 1, 2 and 3 able to use their voice, use it discreetly, and the horses can be trained to a voice aid to assist. Looking for the rhythm and regularity through the changes of bend. And the serpentine a high earner for him, 7.8. So it's definitely showing the good rhythm through there. Just leaning forward slightly to give the lengthening in the strides. Here Pepo having the bigger knee blocks on the saddle, so just giving, or on the thigh, so giving a little bit more stability to him. Because of all the movement in the legs, the straps from the stirrups to the girth.
Well, they already enjoyed the extreme honour of being one of Austria's flag bearers at these Paralympic Games from Paris. And still enjoying competing on the biggest stages. Was so close to 2 European medals, but 4th in both last year. He finished 5th at these games in the individual event. Certainly, it's a tough ask for a medal for Team Austria, but they still have one further rider once Pepo Puch gets his final score.
His experience definitely shining through in that test.
Indeed, Yannick, 74.100, that was the score for...
They're always, our riders, appreciative of their horses.
After 2 riders.
Et on peut voir fois. Les Autrichiens, voilà, qui accueillent leur champion.
Pepo
C'était donc
Puch.
Pepo Puch que vous avez le plaisir de voir.
The score for Austria after 2 rides, 145.558. Pepo Puch adding 74.1 to leave Austria currently 11th.
Occupe le 3e rang, Alison avec 206. 206,7.
So a short pause, and then it is going to be very exciting. Germany leading the way ahead of Canada, Austria on the provisional podium as one of 5 teams to have had all 5 riders. The US, Netherlands, Belgium, Italy, France, and the rest still with a chance to make a move up. And we are not far away from learning our team event medalists.
Des 11 reprises que nous aurons le plaisir de vivre ensemble avec toutes les nations, dont évidemment des tricolores que vous attendez avec impatience pour connaître celles et ceux qui viendront nous rejoindre, Alison, pour la cérémonie des médailles tout à l'heure.
That's right, Yannick, that was the end of grade 2. We'll be heading to our final grade this afternoon, making up our team event with grade 3. 11 horse riders will be competing. We'll be back here with start of competition at 16:03. And once again, once these final riders have taken their part in the competition, we will be having the victory ceremony for team.
Vous êtes fantastiques, mais quelle ambiance les amis. Bon, eh bien c'est ça qu'on aime voir, effectivement, dans cette compétition. Vous faites corps évidemment avec celles et ceux qui sont eux en train de jouer les médailles. Et bravo, merci encore une fois de tout cet enthousiasme que vous savez créer autour de cette arène. On a besoin de ça, ils ont besoin de vous. Mais maintenant il va falloir rentrer un petit peu plus dans la compétition. Dans quelques instants, nous allons donc accueillir le dernier groupe à venir nous rejoindre. Alison, place à la Grande-Bretagne, l'Irlande, l'Autriche, la Suède, les Pays-Bas, les États-Unis d'Amérique, l'Italie, la Belgique, la France, le Danemark et Singapour. Ce sont bien les nations que vous aurez le plaisir d'accueillir pour ce dernier groupe.
That's right, Yannick. We'll be in a few seconds into our final grade of the day, grade 3. Those teams who haven't had their third rider will have their third rider completing their score now. As we head to Great Britain, we'll be going also to Ireland, Austria, Sweden, the Netherlands, United States of America, Italy, Belgium, France for their final rider, Denmark, and finishing with Singapore. We'll add that all together. Our three competitors, and the best will be on the podium.
Well, it is crunch time in the team event at Para Equestrian at Paris 2024. Grade 3 will be the lucky grade, or lucky depending how things pan out. They will define the final standings of the team event. So 11 riders to come. Some have already completed their program, so they will be looking on nervously as each competitor comes, tries to knock them off their perch. So 5 have completed, Germany, Canada and Australia for the moment on the virtual podium. Will there be any change when our first duo take to the field of play? All smiles before the start. Team GB out first. Natasha Baker, the world number 5, with Dawn Chorus heading out. So Natasha Baker already with a bronze around her neck on the first day of Para-Equestrian, behind Vanderhorst and Rebecca Hart. 73.167 in that test. Now testing herself to complete the 3 scores for GB. Well, it's given the scoring, unfortunately going to be history GB don't want to make. They've won every single team event gold since Para-Equestrian joined the games in Atlanta '96. The important thing is to focus on what she can do. And let's try and score as high as she can and see what happens. Unpredictability, exactly why sport is so exciting. So Natasha Baker underway with Dawn Chorus. Grade 3 athletes with the final performance for athletes with impairments in both legs with minimal or no impairment of the trunk or moderate impairment of arms, legs and trunk. And some athletes may use a wheelchair in daily life.
Some of our grade 3 athletes will be riding, as Natasha is, without stirrups, some with stirrups. Those without find that having the stirrups there actually doesn't give them any more stability. They are more comfortable and just feel safer without.
And that's the important thing. The grade system is just to try and make as fair a playing field as we can, but then also it's very much personal choice about what helps aid the connection for the performance between athlete and horse.
That's right. The riders are classified by physiotherapists off the horse, and it depends on the range of movement in their limbs. It depends on the power of the muscles as to which grade they are put into.
And we also see a difference in terms of the setting and the type of demonstrations they're asked to do between grade 1 and 3 to 4 and 5. We're currently with our smaller arena.
So it's the working paces, the medium walk, again looking for the clear 4-beat rhythm, the regularity and the tempo, wanting it to stay nice and even. And again, this turn on the haunches, quite difficult for some of these riders who don't have the use in their legs, don't have the ability to move the legs to create the difference to the horse, saying, you know, popping the legs on the side to say move off of. So then the riders learning other ways to compensate in a way, using different things. Also, the riders here can use their voice.
Well, Natasha Baker, a 6-time Paralympic gold medalist and part of Team GB for the last of their 2 team golds in Rio and then Tokyo. But her individual gold medals all came at grade 2 in London and Brazil, and a couple silvers in grade 3 earned 3 years ago in Tokyo.
And in this 4-loop serpentine, looking for equal loops, looking for the horse to be straight in the walk, transitions into walk across the centre line, and the leg yields and the serpentines all worth double marks. That really denotes that they are much more of a challenge for the riders, and they're rewarded that way.
Big smile. She is a heavy hitter when it comes to para-equestrian medal winning at the Paralympics. She's already completed the set with a bronze at Paris 2024. Great Britain have been the dominant, unbeatable force in the team event. For the moment, they may have to realise their reign could be over, given the strength of some of the other nations. And Natasha Baker and Dawn Chorus still performing strongly.
Natasha very happy with the performance.
So it's enough for a silver medal position, 219.562 overall, but it does mean Great Britain's reign as the team supremos is over. Well, Natasha Baker, the strongest score of the British trio, Sophie Wells, Georgia Wilson. No wonder she's delighted. 75.367, fine score alongside Dawn Chorus.
Pour essayer, elle vient de les amener au plus haut possible dans cette compétition. Va partir pour l'Irlande qui a accompagné les Hank bien cette reprise. Ça sera donc
We're going to start seeing teams complete their trio of performances. But it's Germany at the moment, the team to unseat in the gold medal position. GB and Canada in silver and bronze, respectively. Jumping across the Irish Sea, Kate Kerr-Horan preparing to come out for Republic of Ireland's final performance. Sarah Slattery and Michael Murphy gone before. Kate Kerr-Horan with Lieke Bose, Dawn Aquino, the world number 19 for the Republic of Ireland.
Paralympic Games in Tokyo, where she competed with Sarah Fiona twice at the World Championships, including those that were in France. That was in Normandy in 2014, and has also been 3 times to the European Championships.
So the 31-year-old at her second Paralympics after Tokyo. Her best individual event or performance did come on French soil. That was 10 years ago at the Caen World Championships in Normandy, while competing in Grade 2. She says she always wears her lucky belt her mum gave her. Will it help her produce a fine score and finish Ireland's team event on a high? The clock ticking down as the bell rings. 60 seconds to enter and prepare to perform. Versailles looking on. Settling the horse, but surely also just taking in every moment to keep in mind. 31-year-old Kate Kerr-Horan, Ireland's final performance of this team event from Paris 2024.
Into the medium trot. Judges looking for clear transitions, marker to marker. No progressive transitions here. Down the centre line for the vaulty, 10-metre vaulty. Off at the centre line. And I'll test mirror images of the movements shown on each rein. And judges looking for the regularity, the balance, smooth and fluid transitions. Let's turn on the haunches. And looking at the bend and the size of the turn. And Kate just having to lean forward to give the rein. Letting the horse stretch on the longer rein. They're not asked for a free walk or extended walk, just letting the horse stretch.
Well, it may not be enough for a medal in the final reckoning, but as things stand, a score above 66.531 would provisionally put Ireland on the podium above Canada. And Ciara Horan, certainly at this point, is pointing in the right direction.
She certainly is. And looking for those ears, just pointing out sideways, listening to the rider. Just a little misunderstanding there in the rein back, the halt rein back. But that's just one movement.
Well, the sun over Versailles has been traded for clouds and wind. But everyone focused fully on the performance in the centre of the arena.
And now the serpentine, looking for those three to 5 steps of walk, looking for the clear 4-beat rhythm as we go, the transitions down and up, all of those things will be marked within the range of 10 for that one particular movement. But riders very much keep in mind what parts of the movement are earning the marks, because that turn after finishing the serpentine down the centre line, just that turn on its own onto the quarter line, for the serpentine, it is 10 marks of its own, so it's a high earner.
Okay, Ciara Horan agonisingly finished 9th in the individual event. So our final Versailles Voyage, and she looks absolutely delighted with how she performed. Mentioned 66.537 or more would push them towards the provisional podium, but overall great further experience for the 31-year-old at her second Paralympic Games. So, almost on the money, 66.567. Ciara Horan takes Ireland onto the podium.
There, the turn on the haunches just lost the balance and rhythm. And they're showing the adaptive tack, one form of reins with the loops. Just helps a rider keep position on the reins.
Voilà ce que fait pour l'Irlande. On tient donc pour l'instant le trio. Ça va encore bouger évidemment avec celles et ceux à venir pour rejoindre, puisqu'on va partir dans quelques instants pour avoir le plaisir de suivre
The leg yield, the crossing
qui va faire son entrée en piste
on the diagonal line.
d'expérience tout autant d'ailleurs que son cheval.
Well, Ireland with 208.545 for their combined score sees them provisionally on the podium in the bronze medal position. So Irish fans happy with what they've seen. Chance for a little respite. 11 in total representing grade 3 riders. Certainly a more brisk and breezy Chateau de Versailles. There's still a certain amount of blue in the sky, so no umbrellas needed. Well, the flag telling you exactly who's up next to finish their team event program.
He's 59 years of age. Thomas Heller is about to
And right on cue.
5 previous Paralympic Games. He was amongst the best. Just 4th place in the freestyle. That was in Sydney, so we've seen him almost every year since the Paralympics in Sydney in 2000. Twice at the World Championships, 3 times at the Europeans with Espalion now.
A 6th Paralympic Games. And that's only after he voluntarily missed the event in Tokyo, focusing on his business and his employees. Now back, Thomas Haller with Espalion, the world number 16, completing the program for Austria in this team event. Well, he stated, the 59-year-old, he feels he's got 2 chances left to finally medal at a Games, Paris and then Los Angeles. Unfortunately for him, it wasn't to be in Paris, at least individually, finishing 11th in the grade 3 individual event. But he could yet propel Austria towards a medal in the provisional standing. 62.987 the marker to replace the Irish on the podium. But likely a much higher score would be needed to really have a realistic chance. We've still got some of the big hitters, considering the scores from their first 2 riders, in particular the Dutch, Belgians, Italians, and even the hosts to an extent. But he won't be focusing on that. He'll focus on what he can control, and that's his performance with Espalion. I guess for a lot of competitors, the most positive thing you can do is focus fully on your performance and then just see how things work out.
That's it. He'll be wanting to post the best score he possibly can for his team. It's kind of like the individualness goes from this now, and you are just fully focused on the job at hand.
So 8 years since his last Paralympic appearance, going out with a Copacabana bash.
And we should say the music is not being judged as part of this. This is background music, but you feel rather apt. Again, Thomas using the 2 sticks. Riders in this grade, some may just carry the 1, others will carry the 2. Depends on the dexterity in their hands and how much They need, again, they're just a little tap to back up the lack of power and movement in the leg. That gives the reins, that allows the horse to just stretch, showing some length and strides in the medium walk. And the pickup to the medium walk, still very important, so gather the reins up gently so as not to disturb the carriage of the horse. Just a bit of a pivot there to gain the highest marks in that movement. The horse needs to be clearly picking up the hind foot on each step. The halt, super halt there. The rein back, precise number of steps. And the judge is looking to see a clean move off into the trot, no little half steps.
Well, I did say he thought he had 2 chances left to medal, although he was more realistic about Paris, targeting at least a top 10 finish, just edged out of that, but looking to improve on the 63.733 he produced in the individual event.
Important to keep the flow of the serpentine, keeping the rhythm as well as the accuracy, the shape of the loops.
You can just see in the graphic Baker with the top score of our Grade 3 riders so far, and Haller's routine being compared to that. You can see the percentages as we work through the demonstration.
And the leg yield he just gave was lovely and flowing, smooth.
Where do you feel he's losing marks?
Just on the rhythm, the tempo, the rhythm. I think that, you know, a little bit of work on that, and I think he'd be picking up those marks again.
Well, 8 years away, that chance to rediscover the Paralympic feel, and certainly can focus on being back on this stage in Los Angeles in 4 years' time. But still, 6 Paralympic Games is no mean feat for anyone.
There in the trot, just showing the suspension that the horse does have as it changes from one diagonal pair of legs to another.
Remercierons encore une fois la prestation de l'équipe autrichienne qui termine avec 209,125.
And the results who are in
Again, just coming back on the side.
That was for their individual performance. If we add all 3 scores together for Austria, a total of 209.125, which currently...
So Thomas Haller rounding off the scores for Austria. It was enough to put them provisionally third with 209.125.
La deuxième marche, 219,562. Et pour essayer d'aller chercher l'or, et bien pour l'instant, il est accessible à 223,751. Score réalisé par la Mannschaft, par l'Allemagne, qui réalise donc en l'heure le top score. Et on va continuer notre voyage. Restons en Europe, on part pour la Suède, si vous voulez bien, pour qu'on ait le plaisir aussi de compléter.
It's a fabulously organised event to bring Paralympics to the most iconic venues in Paris, the banlieues, and outside of Paris as well. And here we are out to the west at the famous Chateau de Versailles. Big intakes of breath. It's been a long wait for Sweden's final rider. The first two, Louise Jakobsson and Lotte Walling, both grade 4 and 5 riders respectively. They went the first two programs of this team event, but patience has been rewarded, and it's the 40-year-old making her way towards her final outing, at least in terms of Sweden's team event. Renie Clayson, Rybring and Zap VS.
This is the first time, as I said, she's been to the Paralympic Games. She was at the
Fortunately, it's not her last performance of these Paralympic Games. Finishing 8th in the grade 3 individual event means she'll be back for the freestyle, when riders and horses will really get to show their personal tastes and talents. But it's the team that matters for the moment. Sweden lying dead last. However, a number of the teams have already had all three ride out. She'll now just see where she can place the team with her final ride in this team event. We've seen the bronze medal position has been a target. Canada, Ireland, and now Austria in that position. For the moment, Germany and GB holding on to first and second respectively. But some big hitters to come. But first up, Renie Clayson, Rybring with Zap VS.
A start with intent, real energy there, coming in on the centre line. Be straight, medium trot. To set up this turn onto the centre line. Looking for the balance, the size and the shape of the circle. And only a very short space there, only a couple of strides there to change the bend, to head onto the right rein. A vault of only 8 meters, so not quite touching the centre line of the school. Riders having to use their judgment to be as accurate as they can on the size.
During the Paralympics and Para-Equestrian, we've seen the weather change. Even in this session, we've seen sun now, a lot of wind. Are there conditions that make her dressage that more challenging, or is it much of a muchness?
I think rain can be one of the most challenging, because some horses will want to turn their quarters, they'll want to put their bottom into the wind in a sense, and the rain is driving, so they don't like that when they're in the working, if you see them in the field, they'll turn their bottoms to it. So if you're trying to ride a straight centre line and the horses, that you are fighting in a sense to keep the balance and keep them straight. So that affects it. The wind could be moving the flowers, anything could take their eye. So you're always aware of those things. You're not letting it stop your concentration on the movement, but you just have to be very aware and ready to catch anything that they may react to.
Certainly the wind has picked up severely over the past while, but so far the riders making sure the team keeps working. So Clayson Rebring only took up para dressage last year, 2 years after the riding accident that resulted in her impairment, but she had been riding since a young age and did say she hoped to inspire others as I was inspired after my accident. I think that could be a tagline for the Paralympics as a whole.
It certainly could be, but having ridden out in the open competition or doing other forms of riding before coming to para, I don't know that it necessarily always helps you. It helps you in the fact that you've got a great knowledge base to come into, but you're having to adapt to a new way of doing things. And sometimes that can be quite hard, just finding the right way for you and for your horse to work through these things, because you have that ideal in your mind that you can't necessarily do anymore. But what's on show here is just phenomenal, what can be done.
Wide smile, huge hug. I think Clayson Rebring and Zap VS enjoyed that. It's likely not going to be enough to push Sweden towards a provisional podium. 73% would be needed. But she looks absolutely delighted, remembering it's her Paralympic debut at the age of 40. So to be able to come out here and perform as a Paralympian. So 68.6, Sweden in 8th position provisionally after Renie Clayson Rebring's performance.
I think because of the quality of the horses, the quality of the riding we're seeing, it is so easy to forget that some of these, this is their first time at a Paralympic Games.
I feel like there's a certain amount of change, not exactly change of the guard, but you did seem surprised. There are a lot of debutants and a lot of new faces to the sport.
Yes, yes. I think that there is a definite marker of sort of change.
Sweden 8th overall as things stand, an overall score of 204.611 after Jakobsen, Wallin, and that performance from Renie Clayson Rebring. It's certainly encouraging in terms of wider, a deeper pool of talent. Means the new and those who are well established can push each other and push the standards even higher.
It does, and we're seeing that year on year here.
I mean, when you look at something like this at Paris 2024 from when you first started at Paralympics, it must be dramatic, the changes.
Totally. I think some of it comes from the fact that we started on borrowed horses, a bit like the modern pentathletes. We would draw lots for horses, and then after Athens, or at Athens, we started to have our own horses. We were able to compete, and as a rider, it's always great to be able to bring your partner from home
justement pour cette grande championne. Voici la dernière représentation néerlandaise.
The Dutch fans leading the silent applause.
We're heading to the Netherlands now for the final.
Rieke Vanderhor, the world number 3 on Royal Fonks. Could she fire the Dutch towards the gold medal position?
Who already here on Tuesday won the individual silver medal in grade 3. She's also won the team gold. That was in Tokyo.
The silver medal was what she grabbed in the individual event, only beaten out by the score of Rebecca Hart, the 2018 World Individual Freestyle Champion, with 2 silvers and 3 bronze. But the Dutch are targeting gold right now. Sani Voets and Demi Harkins currently having them on a score of 154.783. But they'll be looking to try and replace their neighbours Germany at the top. It's all in her hands. Certainly, if we go by form, she scored 76.433. She only needs to better 69 to replace the Germans, but they will be aware the USA, Belgium, Italy and France in particular could yet make it a real tight fight. So Rieke Vanderhor underway as the final Dutch rider for Team Netherlands.
That was well settled there. The horse the head came up, a little shake there, and then she settled him back down to get that medium trot. You just see that in the score, the score just dropped slightly, but back into rhythm. And so many of these lower grade horses, any dressage rider around the world would be proud and very happy to have them in their stables. Good, clear transitions.
Well, 5 Paralympic medals, but yet to have a golden one, despite being a 5-time gold medalist at World Championships. The 32-year-old did take one of those silvers, was from Netherlands trio, finished behind Great Britain in Tokyo.
And this horse would also make a phenomenal walk horse in the grade 1s. The over track he has and the regularity in the rhythm.
That's why it's so important having the right horse for the right person, but also, in this case, the right grade.
Yes, you're looking for different qualities. Obviously, in this grade, the canter's not required, so if the horse himself doesn't have a great canter, it doesn't matter. But obviously, you know, a grade 3 horse, sorry, a grade 4 horse, it needs to have a good canter. That's a super square halt from here.
Well, Fonk and Vanderhor working seamlessly together. At the moment, it's going to be more than enough to take The Dutch into the medal positions. But of course, with 6 further riders to come, we are yet to reach the climax in the Château de Versailles, the team event of para-equestrian.
And as the standards rise, I think the judges beginning to ask more of the lower grades, in the sense that they're looking for a little bit more engagement from the horse. So working through from the hind end to the contact in the front, just beginning to ask for the riders to put them horses together a little bit more. Whereas a few years ago you could have a much freer neck, in a sense, on a longer rein, and you'd be gaining these marks. Now they're asking more of the riders.
I guess as the standard rises, it's suitable to demand a higher quality of performance. Big nod, followed by an even bigger smile. Rieke Vanderhor with Royal Funk, certainly producing the goods. She had a fabulous performance, only beaten out by the brilliant Rebecca Hart, as she took silver, the same colour the Dutch took in the team event 3 years ago in Tokyo. They're definitely going to be in the reckoning. The question is, in the end, if there's a medal, and if so, what colour?
I say such, other than that moment, such harmony shown. A horse listening, the ears just flickering back. Really, really beautiful partnership.
I think there's something when you see on the screen, it's forgetting how powerful these animals are, and yet we're seeing them at their most graceful.
They are indeed graceful beasts.
No surprise there, but 78.067 to go along with Demi Harkins and Sanne Voets. No wonder she salutes the Netherlands, top of the pile. They have certainly set down a marker, knocking Germany out of provisional gold into silver. Great Britain now treading the boards in bronze. And after total dominance in para-equestrian Paralympic history, there is a high chance Great Britain are going to fail to medal. That is the nature of sport, as this para-equestrian dressage gets bigger and better. And in the end, the depth of competition is something that any competitor actually really would want.
It's good. It's good for the sport.
Wow, we've just seen the Grade 3 silver medalist rocket in the Château de Versailles. Is that going to inspire even greater feats from Rebecca Hart? Rebecca Hart for the United States of America, Florentina, taking to the stage. Well, it was over a percentage point. Rebecca Hart beat out Rieke Vanderhor to take a gold medal.
As we enter the third and final combination for the United States of America, who is 39-year-old Rebecca Hart, who's with Florentina.
And will she be able to go again?
They've been riding together for just over
Roxanne Tronol and Fiona Howard have gone before. Howard laying down the first 80% score of any of the events or grades, and that is certainly given Rebecca Hart plenty to play with. But trying not to let any nerves affect the performance as she prepares to get underway with Florentina.
And you're mentioning nerves, that's one thing you want to be switching off, the pressure's on. But you just want to concentrate on the job in hand, and already off to a flying start.
Yeah, because they're starting to like those 8s. But she, at the moment, at minimum, needs above 75.85 to take the USA top of the pack.
Looking to keep the same tempo and rhythm through the bends, through the turns. Flowed really well on that change. Preparing for the turn, the vault, the 8 meters. Looking for the accuracy. And 2 equal halves of the circle.
Well, she certainly bided her time to be the best. Finally medalled 3 years ago at her 4th Paralympic Games. But it's in Paris where she has finally been golden. 4-time world medalist without topping the podium. But the 39-year-old with Florentina is very much in her prime. Can she lead the United States to a team gold? We're going to have our first ever new champion after Team GB's reign has finally been ended.
Superb harmony being shown here. Three steps in the rein back, 2 to 4 required. Again, showing those medium trots through the diagonal. And again, Rebecca here just using the balance of her upper body to help encourage the horse to step sideways. Ideally looking for equal number of steps.
after its Paralympic debut in Atlanta, and now she finishes the USA's team program after entering the arena as a new Paralympic champion. 75.85 or more will be enough to fire them to the top, above the Dutch. And considering the US finished with bronze behind the Dutch in silver 3 years ago, that would add an extra cherry on top. Although it won't be a final result, we still have Italy, Belgium and France. United States with Rebecca Hart, 78.567, storming to the top of the provisional table. And they show their delight. There'll obviously be some nails bit before the end, but the USA, you certainly were pretty confident they were going to be there or thereabouts.
They were showing so much promise in the warm-up days. Just seeing them, watching them go through, you knew they were the ones to watch. Just super quality work, rhythmical, balanced. Joy all round.
Well, just checking how things are shaking up at the moment. It's Germany in third, Great Britain, the forever gold medalists, will not medal in the team event for the first time in Paralympic dressage history. Germans in bronze. It's the Americans who lead the way, a combined score of 235.567, the total to beat.
Rien n'est joué encore en ce qui concerne ce podium. Tout est encore possible à 35 ans. Eh bien, le rêve se réalise aussi pour cette cavalière que d'entrer dans
So 5 yet to come. The US with those scores of 77, 80 and 78.567. That is tough to beat, but it's not a massive gap between them and the Dutch, shows the thin margins at the top. But what an opportunity for the Azzurri.
Three previous Paralympic Games. She was in London, she was in Rio de Janeiro, she was also in Tokyo. She's also been 3 times to the World Championships, 5 times to the European Championships. She's with Iscari, who is 7 years of age. He's a Hanoverian gelding, and they've been riding together since last year's European Championships.
So together since the last European Championships, Francesca Salvade and Iscari, the last to go for Team Italia.
Celle qui va entrer sur ce rectangle, Francesca Salvade, Escari.
So those final few moments to brace yourself, but it's not her first rodeo. The 35-year-old in her 4th Paralympic appearance. Italy were 8th in Tokyo in the team event, but certainly the Italians out in force, and Morganti there certainly set a high bar with 79.458. Carola Semperboni with 70.708. It's going to have to be terrific to win a medal, but that's how it should be.
And the rider has 60 seconds once the bell is gone, so important when you're down at the other end of the arena not to panic, to get around and disturb the rhythm flowing change of bend there.
Well, it's going to be incredibly difficult to battle to replace the Americans or the Dutch. She would need over 83% to start thinking about that, but far more within range. 73.585 needed to match the current bronze medal position of Germany.
Good steps in the pirouette, clear 4-beat rhythm. And again, Francesca able to keep her upper body position by sitting upright and able to slip the reins through the fingers for the free walk, whereas other riders need to lean forwards because they can't release the rein.
So far, she's hitting around the mark that could yet produce a bronze for the Italians.
Again, lovely harmony between horse and rider. That does come into the final collectives. The mark that the judges are just putting together when the rider is walking out of the arena. And showing those lengthened strides, those medium trot strides. Looking quite parallel at that angle. The horse moving forward and sideways at the same time. And some of these movements very, very comparable to Rebecca Hart's, but obviously that's only moments in time. It's the whole performance needed at that level to beat that score.
And that's where the Dutch and clearly the Americans in particular have really shone, and as indicated, Hart for the best score of the grade 3 riders. Salvade seeing her attempts compared to the grade 3 gold medalist from the United States.
That leg yield that was carried out just now, the same high standard as Hart's. She comes in to complete the test.
So a nervous wait, just waiting to see her final score. They're certainly delighted, but it's going to be very tight as they are trying to target replacing Germany in the provisional bronze position. Morganti with the silent applause there, with one of the standout performances of this team event. And it is 73 for Salvade. Italy just missing out on a podium position, at least provisionally. So there won't be a medal for Italy, but a strong performance individually to finish off.
Francesca, another rider that shone in the training, one to watch, and there are certainly moments in this test where she was up amongst the leader. Spectators hardly able to contain themselves, or team members.
Well, so difficult. And of course, Everyone wants to take that metal souvenir home with them, particularly with a piece of the Eiffel Tower in the middle. However, Italy's previous team performances since London, 10th and 8th. They're sitting 4th currently. Team total of 223.166. It could yet be their best team performance since London. Really coming down to the crunch. That it's the United States who are looking very safe in the gold medal position. None of those left to go really have the scores, unless someone pulled out something unimaginable thus far. Not seen anything over an 80, and in fact we've only seen 180. That came from Fiona Howard. So the USA in first, the Dutch in second, Germany for now holding on to third. Barbara Minneci of Belgium, last out for the Red Devils on Stewart.
And here in our lower grades, it is okay to have a walker with you as you come into the arena, into the field of play.
Well, Barbara Minneci will be one of the 8 who booked their tickets for the freestyle event on the final day of Para Dressage from Paris 2024. So not her final outing, but can she improve on the 67.667 she managed in the individual event? Her third Paralympic event, and trying to finish Belgium's team event on a high.
And Barbara having her test called, the caller will have a steward stood beside them to ensure that they only give the information on the test itself, the words exactly as they are. And when you have a caller, you have to be multitasking because you're wanting to be listening, but you're also wanting to be concentrating on your horse and giving the horse its aids.
The Belgians have been consistent in the team event at the last 3 Paralympic Games, 5th on those occasions. Currently 13th, but of course those who have already registered their 3 scores with an advantage that Minneci is about to try and wipe out.
You'll see the strapping on the thigh again, just giving stability in the saddle. Also, because of being unable to keep the legs so still, there are the strapping from the stirrup to the girth. Again, these are allowed within this grade if their physical impairment correlates with those adaptions. Looking for the evenness of the bend, the consistent bend through the horse's body on that circle. Transitions have their own marks. The halt and the immobility before the steps back. A little bit of tension creeping in there, the horse just tossing its head. But she'll be looking to quickly settle him again. Back into the rhythm. Again, it's on the leg yield that the rider who doesn't have the physical strength in their legs to give such a clear aid will be using the stick as a little backup, a little tap to say move aside.
So Belgium at the moment, they want to improve on their 5th place finishes. The last 3 have to break 72.677 barrier, which at the moment isn't looking likely. The US still looking odds on for gold.
Riders developing such partnerships with their horses. Their horses mean everything to them. And to be able to bring them onto this world stage to show their abilities.
And all the athletes have done that with aplomb. There'll obviously be some that go with medals, but they're all proud Paralympians. And we've just had an absolute ball here at Château de Versailles across the para-equestrian events. After the individual event, this team event has showcased different standards with the teams coming together, the 3 scores accumulated to create one final total. And Belgium just waiting to see where they stand.
Avec 68,700, ça nous fait donc un score pour nos amis belges de 219,189.
Showing the change in bend. So necessary to keep that uniform.
Is their individual performance and a total for Belgium with 219.189. For the moment, it's a 6th place.
Ça correspond effectivement à la 6e place pour l'instant, donc le podium reste inchangé entre
just giving the praise to the horse for the performance.
Les Pays-Bas et l'Allemagne. Et de garder vos mains en l'air pour celle qui va venir nous rejoindre. Vous savez très bien qui va rentrer en piste. Pour celles et ceux qui la connaissent pas, ça fait partie des jeunes talents français.
Belgium 6th overall, 219.189. The collective score of Claes, George and Minneci.
À 21 ans, oui, mais quand on a déjà un bon palmarès, quand on est 8e des derniers à Tokyo, quand on est 5e des derniers championnats du monde au Danemark, et quand on est en
The sun's popped back out through the clouds just in time for the Les Bleus faithful, the home partisan crowd, to find their voice. They'll be very excited for the next rider to enter.
Le plaisir de la voir, et puis après
Tiara Zenati just coming into the picture.
Ainsi que les deux autres aussi juste derrière, puisqu'il y aura le Danemark et Singapour. Elle est là, oui, vos mains par contre peuvent se lever, vos drapeaux peuvent s'agiter si vous le souhaitez, pour lui souhaiter bonne chance, bienvenue, apportez-lui toutes les ondes positives.
Well, you can tell how excited they are. Tiara Zenati, the 21-year-old, ranked 4th in the world with Swing Royal to finish France's team event. And of course, we've seen for grades 1 to 3, quiet, encouraged from the crowd, silent applause with the wave. But you could tell the crowd are so excited when a home rider comes out. There's that initial noise and then the quick hush as they held their breath and their excitement, but still able to show it. And what a moment to be performing on the grounds of Versailles, and your first Paralympics in your home country.
And this horse, Swing Royal, very experienced at this level. This pairing reasonably new and growing all the time in their strength, their partnership and their abilities. And showing her best foot forward to the judges as waiting to go into the arena.
Team France out in force. Incredibly for the 21-year-old, it's still her second Paralympics, and she arrives at her second games as the European silver medalist. Just 18 years old, but finished 5th in the individual event, 8th in the freestyle, and now looking to try and improve on France's 6th place finish in Tokyo. Not since the first para-equestrian event in Atlanta in '96 have France medalled. That was a bronze. It's a big ask, but Zenati will give it her utmost.
And showing that she is a rising person on the scene there, just using her initiative there to settle the horse, take her time to enter, set the horse in the right balance before commencing. Quite an expressive horse, this Swing Royal.
She hadn't planned to go to Tokyo after only 2 years at the Cadre Noir in Saumur. But the delay saw the French team hand her an invitation. She couldn't believe it, but she certainly grasped the opportunity. And 5th in the individual event. She will be back to show her freestyle flair. 70.533 in that first performance. But she's going to need nearly 77% to grab France a place in 3rd. Not out of her skill range, but certainly a lot of pressure.
As a one-handed rider, it's easier or more comfortable to have the stick on the same side as the hand, but obviously using the stick here as an aid to just assist with keeping that right shoulder of the horse just a little bit in check, just helping to move the shoulder. Looking to keep the horse in rhythm and balance. Preparing for this second turn on the haunches, clear steps. And the movement for riders with a leg impairment it is a degree of difficulty that they've got in there. It might not be judged as a degree of difficulty, but it certainly can be a challenge. Just misunderstanding, got his hocks a little bit out behind him and then struggled to find the backwards motion. And that showed in that mark for the rein back.
Well, she did admit the fact that the games are in France would put higher pressure on her. And certainly, it was always going to be the case. Biggest dream, understandably, would be to win a medal. It's not looking likely in this team event, but there still will be the freestyle to come. But competition in this team event has been fierce, and we're starting to ride into the final furlong.
So the 4-loop serpentine, the turns tighter to get those 4 loops through the arena, looking for the balance, change of the rein. Lovely crossing there. And I was just looking so loose-limbed and free. She completes for France.
Still such a proud moment. 5th in the individual event. She was going to have to produce something credible to fire France towards a medal, but still looking like very impressive 70% or so. But you can see by her expression, she would have gone out wanting to make a stab for the podium, but sometimes it's just not your day.
You've got to go for it, you know, in front of a home crowd. You've just got to give it all and go for that. And a very credible, lovely performance. There you just see the handhold on the reins with the stick.
In the end of the current podium, the consistency between the trios of the US, Netherlands and Germany just put too much pressure on. The crowd still showing their love and appreciation for a young home rider who surely will see Paralympic medals in her future. Still just waiting for official confirmation as the tricolores fly against the wind in the stands. Just the one medal for France in team para-equestrian event, all the way back at the start in Atlanta 96. 9th, 10th and 6th respectively in the last 3 editions. They're made to wait. Certainly if France had managed to medal, the crowd would certainly struggle to keep the silent applause, but maybe bracing themselves if that had happened.
Tiara Zenati, who you've just seen competing, who's 21 years of age, the same age as the rider who's about to.
Well, the judges
we're heading to Denmark.
Maybe in a little further discussions.
14 years of age. They've been together for the last 2.5 years. She made her Paralympic
Karla
debut
Dyhm-Junge,
in
another youngster, Ms. Daisy, and her representing Denmark.
In Denmark, in Herning, where she won with her other fellow competitors the team silver medal. Last combination.
So our penultimate performer, I think it's safe to say gold is going to be near impossible. She'd need over a 90% score. But before anything happens, anything could well be possible. But a young rider taking those initial Paralympic steps. So Zenati, they're still waiting. So if they wanted to crank up the tension, they're doing that to aplomb. We'll wait for confirmation, but we'll focus on the action at hand. Karla Dyhm-Junge, her debut at Paralympics. Silver for Team Denmark at their home World Championships. Now the final to go out on Miss Daisy.
Denmark, when para-dressage, para-equestrian was first new on the world scene, were one of the leading leaders in the field. And they're looking to step back up again.
Yeah, they were on the first podium along with gold medalist Great Britain. The Danes taking silver ahead of France in bronze. They haven't managed to threaten too much, although there was a fourth place finish in Rio. And fourth again 3 years ago. So the nearly team, Dyhm-Junge, you can see her score compared to that of Rebecca Hart.
Horse now settled into a better walk rhythm. The 4 beats so essential. The 8-meter volte. Again, looking for the bend through the body, as well as keeping balance and being active. Just stuck there, just pivoting on one hind leg. That will be costly. Using the corner to the halt, a little mobility before the rein back. Just not quite the consistency of the leaders, but a lovely medium trot shown. Back into a good rhythm. Lovely crossing the forelegs, the hind legs, as the horse moves sideways and forwards.
Well, picture perfect as we look out across the venue here. Karla Dyhm-Junge gaining vital experience. She did just miss out on the podiums in individual and freestyle at her home World Championships in Herning, Denmark. 6th overall in the individual event. So she will be back for the freestyle looking to finish strongly after a tough start in this team event for Denmark.
So into a really good trot rhythm here. She comes into the Holt super square.
Well, a pat on the neck for Miss Daisy. Dyhm-Junge didn't look too ecstatic herself. It's tough to wait also that long. The second from last to go out for Denmark. And, waiting on her score. Well, the French score did eventually come through for Tiara Zenati, 73.533. France fifth overall with 220.506. Denmark waiting to see where they finally fall, but the podium is looking secure. But of course, still one rider to gamble and go.
Alors, regardez tout d'abord le score de l'équipe de France qui manquait 73 533, 73 533, ce qui va donner donc la 5e place en finale.
And results we have now to celebrate with you or share with you. For France, 73.533.
So Denmark wait for their final overall score.
And their overall total then for France.
We are very close to knowing the final makeup of the team event. And here is confirmation, 73.533 for Tiara Zenati, an overall team score of 220.506. France in fifth.
Qu'on ait le plaisir de saluer donc la dernière à dérouler donc son programme, 11e et donc dernière reprise.
Well, what an honour at your first Paralympic Games to come out last and complete the team event. It goes to Singapore's final rider, Heidemarie Dresing on Gambler. The final grade 3 to go out. Denmark 8th place, 214.8 the overall score after 69.6 added by Karla Dyhm-Junge and Miss Daisy.
Score final qui met le Danemark à la 8e place avec 214,800.
And just quickly the results for Denmark and their final rider, Karla Dyhm-Junge with Miss Daisy.
Another majestic day at the Chateau de Versailles. And we're now into the end as the USA are all smiles. They look to be the gold medalists. Obviously nothing 100% confirmed, but when you look at the points, it would take something quite unbelievable to change our current podium. And Heidemarie Dresing of Singapore with Gambler, the final rider to perform in this team event.
Grade 3 as we head to Singapore for a third and final time, and also a friendly horse will be there to reassure Gambler. Gambler, who is the horse of the final rider. Gambler, who is a 13-year-old Dutch horse, a KWBN in Belgium, who is by a Spielberg.
So making her way out, having performed in the individual event, a 12th place finish with a 61.7. This means it's her final chance to shine at Paris 2024. See where she can place Singapore in the final rankings and really just soak up every last second of this Paralympic Odyssey. Well, born with cerebral palsy and epilepsy, started the therapy and then the shift to competitive riding 7 years ago. And now, a bona fide Paralympian.
Looking to build on their individual test. Clear difference shown there in the medium trot.
Well, 64%. She produced twice in an event at Mannheim. Is currently her best. And how she would love to beat that. But she has said philosophy values effort over immediate success. At 33, she's got plenty of time. Certainly helps having studied psychology science.
Definitely a benefit. The psychology of the sport, definitely needed.
Because as much as anything, the times when it's tough or challenging, it's being able to get back on your horse and keep going.
That's it. And being the last rider to go, having the whole day to wait for your moment in the spotlight.
Bringing the curtain down on this brilliant team event. 3 riders for each of our 16 nations taking part.
A little bit more of outward steps there. Not totally switched on together. Just a little loss of communication. There we go, into the hold. Looking for the 3 to 5 steps, rein back. Lengthened strides contained, looking for the rhythm and regularity in it. Some really lovely moments showing what is possible. Walk steps over the centre line, keeping the loops even, equal shape. And that was double marks to the rider. Looking for the straight turn down the quarter line and then the leg yield. Come onto that centre line, ready for their halt.
A wonderful moment to take in this arena, the crowd and the silent applause. And Singapore completing this team event. And with Singapore's score, we'll have our official leaderboard, but for quite some time the medals have all but been known. When you've got riders throwing out 80% and high 70s, it's always likely to be their big moment. Well, the United States had never medalled in the team event. This, what a time to get your first ever, and it is gold. The USA have dominated grades 1 to 3 with 2 golds and a silver in the individual events. And now they have joined forces. Roxanne Trunnell, Fiona Howard and Rebecca Hart have brought their collective brilliance to the biggest stage, and it is gold. For Singapore, just waiting for the final score. And Hilary Su will certainly look back at the experience and look to build in games to come. There are the Americans who will be top of the podium and top of the world. I'm sure their phones will be blowing up. Plenty of congratulations will be coming their way. So the United States with gold with a combined score of 235.567. Some certainly came dressed for the occasion. The Netherlands in silver, as Singapore have their final score 198.108, 15th of 16. So the USA, the team event winners, 77, 80 and 78.567 combined for a gold medal performance of 235.567. Their first ever team event gold, their first team event medal at the Paralympics. The Netherlands just edged out into silver for their third in Paralympic Dressage history. Germany with bronze, and Italy, France, and deposed champions Great Britain below. And there is the completed